All right.
I
He's
feel
still
like
playing that in his head.
yeah, I
You're
am,
pretty
and then
good.
it's just in a way it kind of somewhat loosely ties in a little bit, but I want to go over this crazy speculative story as it pertains to Blue Box Game Studios. Blue Box Game Studios and their game Abandoned.
Blue blocked.
Because there's just been all this stuff that's just constantly come up about it ever since it was announced. Because it seems like it's being teased that this game is actually the new version of Silent Hills and that Hideo Kojima is tied to the game and it's actually all just a big ruse and yada, yada, yada. Now, I'm just going to go over some of the stuff. This has all been happening a little bit over time. And just for some context and the reason that people started going down this road. So Kojima, we know, has done things in the past where he's just like kind of mixing things up and changing things and subverting people's expectations and whatnot. So like for the Phantom Pain in particular, which we talked about a little bit before ago, he made up a fake studio called Moby Dick Studios and a fake developer named Joachim Morgan or Mogren, that was his name, and that they were making a game called The Phantom Pain. And they kept this ruse going on for a while. And then it was turned out that like, oh, actually The Phantom Pain is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. And then we all know how it went with PT, where PT dropped. It was this thing. Nobody knew what it was. And then it turned out that PT stood for Playable Teaser. And then it turned out to just be like a big ad, if you will, for a new Silent Hills game that ended up getting
starring
canceled.
Norman Reedus.
Starring Norman Reedus, yes. So now we have this game. So on April 7th, there was a blog post that was teasing this new upcoming first-person survival game. It was a PS5 exclusive called Abandoned. And it was from the game director was Hassan. I think how you spell it, say his last name is, I'm going to say Karaman. I'm not exactly sure. It's Kahraman. He was the game director of Blue Box Studios, and he announced this game. So, okay, cool. This new indie game, no big deal. Then it comes out that they announced through their Twitter that Abandon is going to get its own PS5 app, which would let players run the game's trailers in real time on PlayStation 5. Now, outside of the fact that that's very weird, not even first-party studios have anything like that. So
Yeah, I have an app. It's called YouTube on my PlayStation.
Exactly. So like, why does this need to exist? Why is it going to this little bitty studio that nobody really knows who they are and anything about this game? Because the trailer was really just a bunch of scenic stuff. You see some hands. It has a gun at one point, and that's it. Nobody knows anything about what this is. So then that gets people digging around and everything and looking and stuff. Fast forward a little bit more, you get this tweet from Blue Box Game Studios. They said Abandoned, basically alluding to that Abandoned is just a code name for the game. That's not the actual name. It says Abandoned equals first letter S, last letter L. Reveal closing in, hashtag PS5, hashtag exclusive. So now everybody's kind of freaking out, thinking Silent Hills, or Silent Hill maybe, and just in an odd, weird coincidence as well, the Twitter handle is @BB Game Studios. BB is also the name of the little bridge babies. That's what they called them, BBs, in Death Stranding, which is a Hideo Kojima game. Hideo Kojima was going to be making Silent Hills. All these people are starting to put all these things together. And just tons of other little weird things that I can't even get into all of them because there's just too many to go down this crazy rabbit hole. But the craziest one, if you go to like Google Translate and you pick Japanese and Turkish, and if you type Hideo under Japanese, to translate that into Turkish, it's Karaman, the last name of the game director of Blue Box Game Studios. And his first and last name are KH. Like the two letters are the same thing.
Like Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. So it's like, there's just all these things happening. And so much so that then the game director, they had to come out and tweet all this other stuff about like, no, like we have no affiliation with Kojima. We have no affiliation with Konami. We're not making a Silent Hills game. Like a flat out saying this is not the case. It's so much so that even the game director put a video on their Twitter of actually seeing him saying, I'm not an actor. I'm actually a game studio dev. this is, you guys are going crazy. This is not what I meant to do. But it's like, you totally like led this road. So, and then our boy, Jason Schreier, the guy who digs up everything. He had like a 1 hour Q&A with this guy. And he comes out from him, he's like, look, he's definitively saying, like, this is not, obviously we're not tied with Kojima. I'm not like an actor. I'm the actual game studio. But yet he's also still being very cagey. He's like, we have 10 people on our team. He won't tell us the name of anybody that's on the team. He won't give us any more information about the game. He just shuts down all the answers to these questions, says more to come, more to come, more to come. So it's this whole big crazy thing. And like, look, I want to believe that this is somehow some big crazy elaborate marketing scheme for a new Hideo Kojima game, whether it's Silent Hill or whatever it's going to be. I want to believe that.
You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it yet, but there's so many things that are like, but so many of these things line up. It's like, it's a fun little rabbit hole to going down. I mean, I think it's crazy. Have you guys followed any of this at all? And do you have any thoughts on it at all?
I saw a little bit of it this last week, but I'm not a conspiracy guy.
Yeah.
And so when they came out and they were like, we are confident with the game, but we didn't mean to lead you down this road. We're sorry if that blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, that seems a bit far to go out of your way to say all that for it to still be connected, actually.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't know about like what was you say, Japanese and Turkish and all.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
But like at the same time,
that's some next level stuff.
I sat with somebody, and no offense, I sat with somebody not too long ago that was trying to tell me about, how unround the earth was. And they made all kind of connections.
Yeah.
All kind.
Yeah.
That I personally don't believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they were very convinced off some YouTube video they watched and a couple twisted up Bible verses that, you know what I'm saying, that there's no curve. And so I feel like the world works in coincidence a lot of the time. I remember watching a mentalist one time. He goes into a bar and he says, I bet you, I forget the exact numbers. I'm going to kind of jack it up like Ed was talking about last week with the numbers he gave for the tons of rock that were taken away for the statues. But he said, I bet you $100 that within the next, it was some low number, 15 people that walk into this bar, someone will have your exact same birthday as far as the date, month, and day. And listening to it, you're like, nah, man. I think they got to like 4. Like it was like the 4th person had this other person's exact birthday, month, and day. And so you're like, so coincidence just permeates, you know what I'm saying, in our world. And so as much as I want to believe it, I'm not a conspiracy guy, and I think things just can line up if you really want them to anyway.
Yeah.
This is going to sound weird, a weird, it's not going to sound like it's related, but when I was really into watching ghost hunting shows, a lot of people would see in old mirrors, they kind of get that film on them. And people would see images in those mirrors. And one of the things they would say is the human brain is wired to want to make sense of things. So when you look at something that might not be anything, your brain will make, like, it's like the clouds. You want to see something, you want to make sense of it. And it's kind of like that same thing. We just want to make sense of things. And so we'll just sometimes just connect anything to try to explain something.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And we will, yes, absolutely. So that's where I land on that.
It's like, and I'm with you guys too. Like when people now the Japanese to Turkish thing was the one thing I was like, whoa, that's crazy. All these other things, crazy. It's like, yeah, I'm with you. Like if you want to connect those dots, you can find a way to connect those dots, kind of thing. But then even on this tour of this guy going around trying to calm things down a little bit, it's like he's still not helping himself. So during this interview with Jason Schreier, he's like, we have 10 members on our team, and that we've outsourced a lot of work to several other studios. He would not make any of the other members of his team available for interview. He would only name one of them, and that person would not respond to inquiries for comment.
That guy's name was Hideo.
Yeah. He would only list two
Kojima.
of the teams. He would only list two of the other studios that's helping them work on this game, and representatives for both of them declined to comment. Like all these other crazy things that are happening, and it's like, dude, if you're trying to squash these things, you're not helping your case.
Let me ask you something. You're an indie developer. Mm-hmm. Would you want to help your case? Everybody's talking about it. Go ahead and give them the carrot. This is your marketing plan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, think of Blair Witch Project. Like, was that movie good, or did it have so much hype because of the thing that it made itself seem like that's what, made it a thing?
I hear you, and that would sound like I would be tempted to go with you and be like, yeah, man, any news is good news, kind of thing.
Yeah, any publicity is good publicity, yeah.
But if let's say they didn't come out and try to squash it too much, or they did, and if it comes out that this is not tied to Kojima at all, it comes out as true, none of this is the case, I think people are just going to bounce. They're like, no, it's not Kojima. I feel like this is one of the situations where if it's not true, it'll turn out to hurt you more than the opposite.
Really?
I think that it would. Because Kojima, crazy people, they want the Kojima game, and if you're not doing that, then they're not as interested. So I don't know. I mean, it's a flip of a coin, maybe.
So all of this is over just the potential for a game, right? There's like no release date. There's like nothing happening. Like this is just all hype, pre-hype to a game that's not even out yet, right?
No, it's not out yet. No, it's not.
Well, I mean, not out
not
yet,
even
but
close
like
to being out.
No, but like this like their way of announcing that this game is coming? Is that what they're trying to do here?
The blog post very similar to like other games that they've announced. Like when they announced, I think they originally a blog post for, or maybe it wasn't originally, but there was a blog post shortly after that June event for the PS5 where they went a little bit more in depth on like Deathloop, and then they did one for Ghostwire Tokyo, and they've done it when the Jade Raymond studio was announced, and then like they. Just like that, Abandoned was a thing similar to that, where it's like, hey, I'm so-and-so from this game studio. We're making this game that's going to end up being a PS5 exclusive. Here's a short little teaser, and I'm telling you a little bit about it. Stay tuned. We're working hard on this game. And we're a studio of 10 people or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, they didn't come out and be like, oh, yeah, this game's coming out next week. It wasn't that kind of situation. But,
I mean, I feel like they're kind of jumping the gun a little bit, though, don't you think? Unless they're just trying to create some hype, and then they will make that announcement that something's happening. And
well, the thing is, it's not them necessarily.
Right.
People,
it's a conspiracy
theorist.
It's
people kind of connect, like at the end of this PlayStation Lifestyle article, it says Karaman's PSN account, Sneaky Warrior, has 1,238 total trophies on it. This is the same number as the Silent Hill 4 Japanese commercial.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that means, the same number. But it's like everything, like it's just
fanatical,
just
basically.
enough to keep you interested still.
And like here's one of the other like, okay, you're just wanting to see what you want to see kind of thing. So he also has some credit for developing several apps that have been part of the Apple App Store. Some of them were little games that weren't really all that great, but there was one in particular that was not a game. It was called GoFit XL. And it says underneath it, when you're reading the category and the description of it, it says that is a personal training, in parentheses, PT programs. It's like, okay, people are like, PT? It's tiny. That's one of those things, too, that I'm just like, dude, you're just like anything.
Now
like,
you're just grabbing.
Just like back in the day, it'd be like, Valve would say, they'd just post an ad for saying, like, come get some on Steam. They'd be like, oh, look, if you put these together, there's 3 of them. Half-Life 3 confirmed. It's one of those crazy kind of things.
Right.
But yet there's all these other things, too, that you're just like, doggone it. That's not even a stretch for that one.
Yeah.
That's funny. I like that.
A little far-fetched there. Interesting. Very interesting.
Either way, it has. I mean, I was interested when I saw the Abandoned originally that first time, just because I was like, oh, it looks kind of cool. I mean, granted, if it's a horror game, I'm not gonna play it. I'm like Gabe, horror games aren't my thing. But I was interested to see what became of it. Now I'm even more interested to find out, but I don't know. We'll see.
If it's Kojima, you'll play it.
Well, then they did their
I don't
job,
know that
man.
I'll play it. I will probably buy it. But
then all these people did their jobs. They created the hype that you I think wanted, and
I guess so.
It worked. Good on them. Why not?